All right, and we should be live. It actually no issues streaming this time. We're 8 minutes late because I overslept and I had asked my daughter to wake me up, but she woke me up 15 minutes late. So there we are, and everything
Yes,
is
you are.
good. And first of all, before we get started tonight, I just want to let everybody know in the chat that we actually had a very special interview today with Ryan Penogras. I believe I said his name correctly this time. Penogras. Correct me if I'm wrong, PK, because I know he had to correct me, at least on the stream. So he is the creative director at Marvel, and he does a lot of big things. In charge of different stories that go out. He's in touch with the writers. He's a lot of behind the scenes kind of guy, but he's a very important kind of guy. And he worked his way up from Wizard all the way up to Marvel, and he was a fantastic guest. He is an awesome dude. So check out the interview when it goes live later, and follow him because he's just really cool. And he also likes video games very much. He was talking about his Nintendo 64, his Super NES, his Dreamcast, his I believe his Sega Saturn, his Sega CD, 32X. Like he had a whole list of stuff that he just unboxed from his addict. So that was pretty cool. Or when he moved. However, PK, correct me if. Feel free to jump in, PK, and correct me when I'm wrong, because I
He
just
was
woke up.
a he was definitely a Sega guy. He had a Nomad. He had a, but he had everything. He was like me. He just only thing he didn't name was a TurboGrafx 16 or a 3DO. Pretty
Yeah,
much everything else he had.
yeah. So, and now we're about to get started with the show. So, welcome to another episode of Four Guys Recorders. And tonight we have a special guest, Six Layer, who hopped in. Animated Evil and That Moment Rocks are in UK time, so of course it's late for them. Flamish he's out with an injury. And Midway's coming back next week once he's done with football, so that'll be good. And he might shave his beard too, so you might see him without a beard. And we got Yobi coming in. Oh, we got Yobi coming in. What's up, Yobi?
Yobi.
Gentlemen, what's going on?
What's up,
So
Dragonheart?
I'm gonna
What's
go
happening?
ahead and introduce this panel. Below me, we have Mav, aka Fun Speculation, aka Xbox Ultimate, aka Fun Pop, the Godfather of Fun Pop. What's going on, Mav?
Hey, you're the godfather of respect, man. You can't be spreading around the godfathers too much.
I think he meant Fun Speculation, aka the man with all the AKAs.
The man with all the AKAs. Yeah. What's up? What's up, guys? Mav here. Hello. Excited. Yobi hopped in here. We got Six Slayer. We got PK. My man Clowns. We're gonna have a fun time. We got some cool topics here. It looks like there's gonna be a lot of PlayStation talk, which is gonna be fun for once because there's some like positive stuff to talk about right now. So hey, let's get that going and let's have a great time, a great show.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet.
And then we have Six Layer, who's guesting for his first time on 4GQ TV, and excited to have him. Actually, I sent out a pigeon at the last minute with an emergency SOS letter, and Six Slayer just said okay, and he jumped
Lucky my
in.
window was open.
What's up?
Yeah. Well, lucky my window was open. Yeah. Flew right in, dropped a little note. It's all good. Yeah, I'm doing well. Been a odd week. Gaming, but Sony got a lot of positive news in the past most of today and like half of yesterday, I want to say. And a couple other things that have been happening that they've had a bad couple of months with just bad news on their side, and they're starting to have a lot of good news. So in fact, a lot of the topics have to do with that. So we'll get into that and a bunch of other things. I'm kind of excited. No much you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have the myth, the man, the legend, full of shock, PK Entertainment. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the most electrifying channel in all entertainment. It's your boy PK here with all the panel members here. I know we got a lot to talk about. I know we got an agenda, but there's a couple things I want to definitely insert before we get started on the PlayStation stuff. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Sick knows exactly where I'm coming from on that.
It depends. There's a couple of things. There's a couple of things.
Yes, there is a couple of things, but definitely want to shout out to some good news that happened on the developer side.
Good cheers.
The SDK, the Agility SDK.
Yes.
Big
And
deal.
You know what? We have two very special guests that hopped into it the last minute as well. When I sent out that pigeon, it must have dropped 2 extra letters. We have Dragonheart Yobi, aka Yobi. What's going on, man?
What is up, people? Mr. Peace, Love, Life himself. What is everybody doing today? What's going on? I'm playing me some Titanfall 2, and it feels like a whole new damn game with this new FPS boost.
It's great, man. It's great to see old games get life again.
Oh, definitely, bro. Definitely. But how's everybody else doing today?
Doing good.
Pretty good. Can't complain. And then we have Anchorman from the multiverse who hopped in. What's going on, Anchor?
Not too much. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Happy to be alive, man.
Hey, that's a
Indeed.
start.
So I don't know. Maybe I should just post the topics in the GG thread so you guys can see it. Copy this. I'll get it over there. But first I want to go ahead and open up with a topic that Mav's probably very familiar with. As I post this in the GUG thread, is that according to Windows Central and Xbox, games have a new FPS boost.
Yes.
And that is exciting because Yobi is playing one of those games right now.
Yep, the legendary Titanfall 2.
Crazy, bro.
It's
it's like a whole new damn game, bro. Seriously.
It's not a small list either. It's a decent sized list.
Yeah, they did Battlefield 1, 4, and the latest one, and then they did and Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. I was like, what? Oh, I gotta play Star Wars after this. I have to. Because the multiplayer was very, very, very fun. And a lot of people really slept on it a little bit.
Yep. I'm looking at that list, and there's games on there that I play too, and that I love is Plants vs. Zombies. I know people might laugh at me for that.
I always wanted to try that, bro. I never got the chance. Is it really fun like they say it is, bro?
It's a solid third-person shooter, man.
Because
it's fun.
It's the title alone just makes me laugh. It's like, yo, this game gotta be fun. It gotta be.
It's fun, dude. It's like almost like a hero shooter where like all the different characters have different abilities and like different, it's pretty cool, man.
Okay, I definitely check that out there.
Worth a try.
Definitely. All right, thank you.
Yeah, so
okay.
Anybody on the panel, feel free to hop in on any of these titles. So, like Yobi said, Battlefield 1, 4, 5.
Oh, well, yeah, when I heard the news, the first title that came to my mind was Battlefield 4, because I'd always hoped when the 1X was first released that they would do a compatibility update on that game, because it's 720p. It was a launch game, and they didn't get that. And then when they started doing all its FPS boost, resolution boost, I was hoping for that too. And so the game is on the list. I'm real happy, but that's FPS. It may still be at 720p. I've asked around and nobody's been able to tell me. Hopefully Digital Foundry and the rest will, find out.
Okay.
But, this whole pack of games right here is more, and not to bring any, debates between, this platform or another, but this pack alone, I think, is about as many or slightly more games all at once than the PS5 has at all with 120 FPS. And this just goes to show, because a lot of this is just FPS boosts. It's not something the developers did. If the PlayStation has something to this equivalent, or if the developers were to go back, which is more work, these games should be able to perform similarly as well on the PS5. But I don't think we'll ever see that on that system. I mean, we could. The system is capable with these other games, but it's Titanfall 2, all the Battlefields, except I don't think the police themed one was on the list. It's not.
Just Battlefield 1, 4, and the latest one.
Yeah, and Battlefront 1 and 2.
Yep.
UFC 4.
Yeah,
got 60 hertz. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Titanfall 1 and 2.
This is just what the second or third batch of games. It's the third batch that we've had on FPS Boost, right? So it's crazy that these are dropping when we don't even expect it. There's like no news ahead of time. It's just like, oh hey, here's like 15 games that are now 120 frames per second. Here, enjoy this, guys. Where it's like this news is so frequent now, like with just these little improvements with game preservation. It seems like Microsoft is really taking game preservation and backwards compatibility like even more serious than they ever have before, right? Which they've been leading the way with that for a long time. And just to keep getting this stuff, it's like they don't even necessarily have to, right? We're just getting it. Like nobody is saying, hey, we need all of these games at 120 frames per second or we're going to be upset. No, they're doing it because they're just like, hey, this is the right thing to do in the system. We have the capability of doing it, and it's going to make this the best place to play these games, right? And they're doing it, and we're benefiting from that. I hope that it just continues with more and more. And I think once these publishers see maybe an increase in sales on some of these older titles, right? That would open the doors where they're saying, hey, okay, Microsoft, I see what you did there. I see that. All right, all of these games are getting bought now because you made them better for the system. So we're going to go ahead and let you do it on all of our titles as well, right? So hopefully we see a continuation of this and just, I need a 120 hertz monitor. That's for damn sure. I can't. I'm missing out on the 120, but even all the ones that they've upgraded to 60 has been awesome as well. So good on Microsoft for keeping that up. And I know they said they're going to continue to do it. Backwards compatibility, they're adding more. They added all those games to Game Pass on PC recently. This is just a continuation of just little news drops that aren't even part of the big things that they have planned. But it's just awesome.
It's a beautiful thing. And I just updated my Xbox like 10 minutes ago, and they added when you go look at your games, they have the games, apps, and groups. In the groups, they added the quick resume option, so that way it show what games are currently in your quick resume tab, which is
nice.
Sick.
Are you in the alpha or the beta? Because I know the alpha users had those, but
I think I'm in the alpha. I'm not even sure. I know I just got the update.
It should be open to the beta now. Like they just dropped that like a couple hours ago.
Okay, no.
I'm
beta.
Because the new dynamic was the modes dynamic theme that everyone's been talking about. That's included in that update.
It looks so sick.
Okay. Ooh, that's a big deal.
It looks amazing, bro.
Is that the one that also has a suspend feature for
it should be the same.
Yeah,
it should be the same.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yep. And the one cool thing about this, I didn't even know, was that because the cool thing that they did with this whole addition with the quick resume was they did this really smart. This is just another row of pins.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, exactly.
It's smart. It's simple. It fits in with the UI. Didn't have to invent anything new. That's ingenious. It's real subtle. Just right there. Perfect.
Right, because I have Titanfall 2 and Quick Resume, Final Fantasy 15, Xenoverse 2, and Gears 5.
So just to be clear, these FPS boosts has nothing to do with the developers. This is totally done by the hardware and API on Microsoft's part.
And if you want proof of that, because a lot of people wouldn't believe that it's true. I play Fallout 76 on a regular basis. You can tell because that's one of the first games that got FPS boosts. Now, if you watch the in-game animations, it's at 60 now.
So it's a combination on how the API communicates to the game.
Yeah.
So shout out to DirectX 12 Ultimate and all the features involved in that, and the way that Microsoft designed the console. And obviously,
bro, I still can't get over how they fit all this shit in this small box, bro.
Mm.
I
And just wait till
still,
they start die shrinking in and they start making, the cheaper to produce ones. These are gonna get super small. You think the S is small now?
bro, it's
Imagine at the end
insane.
of generation when they can have an S that barely needs a fan on. Okay, they're gonna have a chip
That
that's
makes sense.
basically more powerful than an S.
Would that be smart?
Talking about it.
Would that be
Yeah, on the
smart?
handheld.
No, but would that be smart to not put a fan in there? Just be on the safe side.
Oh no, they're definitely gonna have a fan in there. I'm just saying the heat it's gonna produce is gonna be so low that the fan doesn't have to be
Okay,
it'll be smaller, and thus the system will be smaller. And in fact, like I'm saying about the chip that they're getting eventually, and not even too far from now, because AMD has one of these chips that's about to come out, I think next year or the end of this year, and it'll be able to fit in a little handheld.
Well, the APU is the first one is going into the new Surface.
Yes, that's right.
So you're gonna have a Series S built into a Surface tablet.
Pretty much.
Got you.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, just to go back to the topic, along the besides this update here, select people in Xbox Game Pass Ultimate got the invite for the cloud on PC, iOS, tablets. And one of the cool things about that is you can actually use xCloud on your Xbox Series X now. If you have the Alpha skip ahead or Alpha and you got that new Edge browser, you can go to xbox.com/play, I believe it is. It should auto log you in, and then you'll see all the xCloud games there. If you hold start, like the start button, you can go into game controller mode, and you could scroll down, pick a game. Yeah. And then when you pick your game, it's not going to be full screen. So then you can hold down the start button again and get the little cursor, go up to, you can move it to the top left, put full screen mode, and then go right back to game controls by hitting start again. And you can play from the cloud. And I mean, it is fantastic. I love it. I had a lot of fun with it because you know what? You don't have to wait. There's really no loading time, to be honest with you. You don't have to wait for loading time. You don't have to wait for a game to install, and it's right on the fly. So, I mean, is it perfect? No. Is it a lot better than PS Now? Absolutely, it is.
Oh, yes.
And
I'm also in the beta. Have you tried anything else besides the Xbox and
I haven't tried PC yet. I just I did it on the Xbox Series X. I was playing some Forza, played some Gears. I played some Injustice 2, and I won matches in Injustice 2. Like, I was able to win matches
online.
So,
nice, bro.
Yeah, so that tells you Xbox really cares about this stuff, and they're gonna make it. I mean, this is just the beginning. They're gonna make it better. I mean, they got plenty of time. They got the resources. They got the money. So all of us who have an Xbox and are gonna play xCloud from the Xbox. Guys, you guys are going to be in for a treat when this thing rolls out.
Like, it's awesome, and one of the best ways for anybody who has access to this, even if you're not a big believer in cloud or anything, it's great as a demo tool. Like if it's a game on Game Pass and you're kind of wishy-washy on it and you don't want to wait the time, and let's say, maybe your connection isn't the fast, so it's going to take a little while to download the game, right? So you try it on the xCloud and see if it's up your alley. And if you like it. Well, all the progress, your game save is already there in the cloud. You just go download the game and you continue where you left off.
Right.
If there was a way to get the quick resume in the cloud, that's not possible. But if that was possible, man, you could just resume exactly from the spot you left off, not just the save. I mean, and hopefully when they add xCloud to other devices, that they have an app for the Xbox. A lot of people might be thinking, why is that useful? Well, here's a perfect example of what a use it could bring, utility, like to demo a game without having to install it on the system. And if you like it, well, you download the full game and you got it locally.
Instant access to all the games in Game Pass without having to have them installed on your hard drive.
That's a win-win. On the go, man, that's a win.
So
Big way.
I did try to on the Surface, and it works perfect. That's
Yep.
exactly what the Surface needed, since it didn't have a dedicated app. So
Yeah.
What is the full resolution capabilities of that? Have they like said concrete what the full capabilities are going to be? I know it's dependent on connection, but
it's 720p now, but they're about to add a 1080p. They're going to be testing that pretty soon, apparently.
right.
Yeah, Phil confirmed
yeah.
it on Twitter a couple days ago. He said like they're in the process of doing it now. Like,
Is that at 60 or 60 frames or?
Yeah.
sometimes but they're
Depending on the game.
adding the Series X's to the blades, so obviously the performance
that's
will increase.
crazy.
Yeah.
So imagine it possibly in like what 5 years from now, right? Just wrapping my head around that, because wasn't there like some other kind of cloud technology with Bethesda acquisition too? There's an MX with like Orion or something like
Orion, yeah.
that, right? Was supposed to help the resolution capabilities of the cloud, streaming games to the cloud, stuff like that. So I'm just wondering, like 5-6 years from now, where this is going to be, and we're all. PlayStation made an announcement today. I think we're going to go into a little bit about their cloud services in the future as well. And this is going to become, I think, more of a reality than just what we're used to now, talking about, hey, cloud's going to be on mobile and cloud's going to be on this and that. But, like you guys are saying, hey, on the Xbox itself, and possibly if Xbox comes out with that streaming stick and, all these other things, like 5-6 years from now, if that capability keeps getting better and better, internet connections keep getting better and better, and stuff, just like how good is it going to be, right? How good is it going to be to have instant access to that stuff wherever you are? And space is no longer an issue. That's our biggest hurdle right now, is actual hard drive space, right? Like storage for your games. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
Especially because you need SSDs. You can't just use a regular hard drive. Maybe for archiving and but the actual playing, you need an SSD, and those drives are expensive. So in a couple of years, when they're cheaper and more prevalent and faster at the same time too, I mean, it's not really going to be a problem like it is now. But we're in these early days, and we're just getting a taste of what this technology is bringing us.
Is this browser
Xbox One games from external? Just fine.
Is this browser going to be available on the One X and the One S? And
you can use any browser to support it.
I think the Edge version is supposed to come to the Xbox One platform as well. So that update, it would behoove them. I don't see why they would continue.
Yeah, there's a lot of those consoles out there.
I
mean, it would be smart to take advantage of that user base, right?
Yeah. I think that's the plan. I don't think they've said any different. So
right now, as we speak, it's the Edge browser, the new one that they put on for Alpha and Alpha Skip Ahead. It works. Now, the browser will tell you that it's unsupported, right? It will say this browser is unsupported, but you can continue anyway, and it works just fine. I think they're just, they just have that warning up because I don't think that they're fully ready for people to experience it on the Xbox, and I'm sure that they want to make it better for the Xbox experience on the console. But, I think for me, it's good enough right now.
Yeah.
Here's my thought process. I don't think anyone's mentioned yet. Think about stay-at-home conventions now. Because the whole big draw for the consumer market, at least for the consumer standpoint, for like E3, PAX, or Quake, or whatever else, is being able to play new games early. What if they had these these vertical slice demos streaming directly to your console or directly to your PC, so you can play exactly what they get to play on the show floor?
Yeah, that was something I wish happened in the 360 era. I mean, I remember when they came out with that demo for Fight Night way back on the 360. Like, this was within the launch window, so maybe December or January or something. And they were showing off the demo at some kind of event live online, and they were like, hey, if you want to try out the demo, it's on the store right now. Go download it for free. And I was hoping, at that point, it would have been more prevalent that we would see that at E3, and that never materialized. Like, all these demos that we see at E3, we hardly get anything. if
That's
at
the thing,
all.
because if
And
you
I'm
allow
hoping that
people
would
to
happen.
download it, you can go into the files, you can ruin things for the
Right, but
future,
with
and
streaming would be
they don't want to
different.
give that away. But if streaming, they don't have that option.
Right. Yeah, I like the sound of that.
And then
It gives them
Mav,
just enough control.
I want to go back
True.
to a point Mav brought up too. He said, 5-6 years from now, and I think you hit the nail on the head with 5-6 years from now, because Korea has already said by 2026 they are going to have a full 6G rollout across the country of Korea. And Korea usually gets this technology first, and then the UK is going to start rolling it out. So we would probably have 6G anywhere from spurts of 2025 through 2027.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's how fast it's already rolling out. And
Yeah,
that
those
was
are
on
also smaller countries, so that's pretty easy for them. So they get to be the test bed, and then when they bring them out here, it's already tested and working. Cool.
Yep, exactly. And this is all confirmed by NASDAQ and confirmed by Forbes as well. So that information I just gave you. So it's 100% legitimate.
Nice.
That's crazy. We're about to have there's also what's the stuff that Elon Musk is doing, like was it Starlink or whatever, with the satellite internet for like rural areas where they're going to be able to have access to internet to like 400 megabit per second potentially, like out in the country, right?
That's amazing.
That stuff's huge too, bro, because like if you live out in the boondocks, right, you got satellite internet right now most likely, and you're getting like nothing as far as connection stability, so just the more of these things keep implementing with like technology and internet and some broadband speeds and everything, it's dude, for these companies, man, it's like opens up a whole new playground to enter into as far as being able to provide services for customers, so I'm excited to see what that turns into.
No, that's true, sir. That's a fact. When I first moved to Florida, I think it was like 2007. We lived in a very rural area with lots of orange groves, and it did not look like Disney World or Busch Gardens like most tourists believe. This is like hardcore orange groves, dirt roads, and just picture like probably like a horror movie in the middle of nowhere. Like children of the corn.
Movie.
So the internet was terrible, right? The internet was terrible. Like Mav said, it was like satellite internet. So what I had to do was, to get better internet, I did two things. One, I signed up for at the time there was the 3G cards that you could plug in the middle of nowhere. And they worked okay. They weren't great. But then I got myself a what do you call it? It's like it's a portable Wi-Fi antenna.
Okay. It's like a portable Wi-Fi antenna, and it came from Verizon, but it used the 3G and then it spit back out Wi-Fi. My sister had one of those.
This Wi-Fi antenna was different. I forget the name of it. I think Ravlink, I want to say. I got it in my closet somewhere. But the cord went up to like 10 feet, the USB cord. And this thing would pick up Wi-Fi signals for like anywhere from 2 to 3 miles. So I could pick up McDonald's Wi-Fi.
What? Oh, that's the most stable internet around is McDonald's Wi-Fi.
Ironically.
More stable than satellite, I'll tell you that.
If anybody drives by a McDonald's, does your phone just automatically just try and switch to McDonald's Wi-Fi? Like even if you have like Wi-Fi is like, it's the only place it does that for me, dude. You drive anywhere near a McDonald's, it's like your phone internet stops working because it's trying to force you onto McDonald's Wi-Fi. It's crazy.
Yep. So that Wi-Fi antenna saved me countless hours of trying to watch, I don't know, like 480p video quality that took forever.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, and then, speaking about streaming games and different support, I want to go right into this topic where PlayStation is bragging that they're rolling out support for 1080p streaming games. As you know, I don't know how this is going to work because their PS Now latency is not the greatest. Still to this day. I mean, it's gotten better, but it's still nowhere near what xCloud offers, right? So now they're going to increase the quality of their streaming games, but they mention nothing of how their latency is gonna be, or if they're even ready for this. They might just be throwing it out there because Xbox is getting so good with xCloud.
Yeah.
Feel free to chime in, anybody. Like, what do you think?
First, I'm going to ask this. I thought they already had 1080p streaming.
No.
Did anyone else think this too? I don't know. I just assumed.
I thought they had it at first as well, like early on. But then at first, I thought the same thing about the xCloud. But the logic they gave was, well, you're having it on a small screen, so yeah, okay. But now that we were talking about, having it on the consoles, on your TVs, they got to up the resolution, and here it comes, just in time. Now, if they'll be able to do it properly, the only hope, because really, I don't expect a lot from Sony either, and the only hope I can give to it is, well, Microsoft is helping them nowadays with their Azure servers and all of that. So maybe it'll be better. At least you won't be able to blame the servers. You can blame the people who program them.
Yeah. Well, and it's not so much that. I mean, for me, I'm more kind of pointing towards the fact that PlayStation Now has been going to TVs and directly to consoles for a while.
Yep.
That's the thing. Like, they've been doing this since
some TVs
14, 15. It's been around for a good long while.
Yeah, a little while, but it never picked up.
They haven't done anything recently.
That was a service that was available. Did it start with PlayStation View? Remember PlayStation View?
PlayStation View is their
I don't think
TV
that's
service.
Simming.
It has nothing to do
Yeah,
with it. So the thing is, On Live is
On Live was the original.
Was the service that they purchased, which was basically a console, this first console to do cloud streaming, and they were in debt. They literally had to pay it off. They had 5 years to pay it off, so they didn't do anything with it.
Damn,
because they had to get out of the red before they even think about. And this is coming from a Sony rep that I spoke to, talking about backwards compatibility. They wasn't even going to have that conversation until they get out of the black for purchasing that On Live service, which they never made their money back on. So it's a different situation. So since they were using that technology, no, they did not invest into it at that time. I mean, that was 2 years ago when I talked about it. So they could definitely well be using the Azure service to, do resource management. Azure does not, it's not the type of infrastructure that will improve your cloud gaming tech. That's not what that does.
Right.
What it does is it mitigates how resource management happens and how your networking happens and all the other good stuff. So for as their cloud tech, that would need to be improved either in-house or by acquiring other people with better cloud technology.
Right.
To reduce the buffer of how much is loaded versus your bandwidth.
I don't think they're going to do that because they already spent enough money
they're going to
on this and had to sit there and wait, before they got the money back and then now want to invest. They're already, 2 steps behind, let's say.
Well, they were 2 steps up front because they were first to have it.
Yeah.
Officially.
2 steps forward and 6 steps back. Wow. I don't know.
Well,
look.
The thing is, they had purchased the service, purchased, On Live, like I said, was the first of its kind.
Mm-hmm.
No one really jumped on it. It had a weird controller, but it was the first of its kind. The point is, now would be a good time to start investing. So I'm sure they'll do it at some point. Just don't know what it looks like.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What I was thinking of was actually PlayStation TV. You remember? The little PlayStation TV box, right?
Oh, those are valuable nowadays.
Yeah, dude. And that's I think what PlayStation Now didn't it launch on that and also the PS4 at the same time or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But it was that's when they were trying to really get into the streaming games, right? It was with PlayStation TV, and that was with Vita games, right? And also PS4 games, which I think was one of those features that they had. So it's been a while. How long did that come out?
PS Now, I'd have to look that up, but it's been some time. Like PK said, they had that first because that was the original, and they also bought Gaikai as well. Sometime like plus or minus 6 months, I think.
So far,
it was like right towards the beginning of the generation when they bought Gaikai.
So PlayStation TV, I never got into it because you have to buy the controller to even do anything with it.
Yeah, I remember my brother had one, and he got it actually, like, he loved it, right? I'm getting I think somebody has their speakers on possibly or something. I don't know if you guys hear that too.
I hear it too. Yep. I think it's I think there's a little feedback from Yobi.
Is it me?
Yep.
Not sure.
What do you hear?
It was just like minor feedback of like the show
What we're
in the
saying.
background.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's not me. That's not me. Wait, maybe it's my headphones.
If you're watching the video too, you probably want to mute that.
Oh no, I'm not watching the video.
So
Well, I don't hear it
PlayStation. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
PlayStation Now, I found the date. It came out at the end of January 2014 in America.
Wow,
and
it's
then
been a while.
in the
bro.
UK the year later in March, and in the EU the year after that in April, and then the year after that in Japan. So every region was like a year after the other. That's insane. So it had only hit Japan 4 years ago, but the service is 7 years old. That's wow. And it's like 2.2 million. Well, this is what Wikipedia says, but wow, that's not very much. But they got to start from somewhere, because this is definitely a thing that's being pushed by everybody. We saw what Google and Amazon tried to do, and in my opinion, thankfully they failed thus far, because the way they do business is not the way gaming needs it to be done. A lot of people thought that about Microsoft when they first entered this the console industry. So that's bad enough as it is, but Sony and Microsoft really have to push this. And Nvidia, I know they do the same thing on the PC side with GeForce Now. Streaming is a big thing. It's only going to get bigger.
Why are you talking about that? AMD just launched theirs as well.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So what's weird is it seems like Sony's one of the I remember there was also Ouya. You remember that or whatever it's called. So but it seems like Sony was one of the first to really get into the forefront of
pioneer, but they just sat on it and they lost that advantage.
It seems so weird that it seems like they're so behind the curve when they were one of the first. You know what I mean? It's just kind of just what happened there. You know what I mean? Now they're going to Xbox for help with Azure, and Jim Ryan, I guess, said was in an interview that I saw today on Twitter. I saw some quick points that they're working with Microsoft to figure out ideas back and forth on what their streaming platform is going to be. That you know what I mean, and then whatever it is will be exclusive to PlayStation. So it's just really interesting to see that they were so far ahead, but now they're reliant on Microsoft now to set things right with their streaming capabilities for the future, right? So but hey, whoever it is that's responsible for making it work, in the end of the day, that I think it's a good thing that they're at least working with Microsoft, so we can see the potential payoff because I think all these companies are going to need to get involved with that stuff, right? As that technology gets stronger and better, and it becomes more mainstream, that everybody's just used to doing it, used to playing it. Everybody's going to need their place to their games on a good service, right? So, I think PlayStation's going to have a great service in the long run, and maybe these things to the news today of the 1080 is just a step in that direction, right? So,
yeah, the competition is definitely waking them up, and they need to, because like we just said, they're in the lead far ahead of everybody, and they did nothing with it. But thankfully they've woken up and they're trying to work this out. But yeah.
I mean, I hope so. I really hope that PlayStation Now does get better in general, because some of their older titles are in PS Now, and it'd be fun to play them on your PS5 and your PS4 or whatever other device they decide to support going forward. It was a big disappointment when they did pull PS Now off the Vita. That was the perfect platform for it, and it was a disappointment when they pulled it off. Because it was even on the DVD players, the Blu-ray players that Sony had. What Matt was referring to. The one of the problems and one of the reasons why they pulled it may or may not have something to do with it was about 2 months after it wasn't an exploit that I found, but it was a see what PS Now was. It was basically when you would go ahead and select a game on certain platforms like the Vita or on your Sony Blu-ray player. It gave you like a time limit of how long you could play the game for before it pulls it from your library. But there was kind of like an exploit where you could select an unlimited number of games and they would run past their expiration date. So it was almost like playing them forever for free. And there's a video on my personal YouTube channel, Italian Clowns, where I go through the steps on that exact exploit. Or not exploit, but I guess glitch, you could say. And ever since then, like 2 months after that is when Sony pulled it off the other devices. So I kind of feel bad. And I hope I didn't have anything to do with that. But in the future, I hope they bring it back. I mean, they decide to bring back, and this goes right into the next topic, right? So everyone knows that Sony and PlayStation announced that they were pulling the PS3 store, the Vita store, the PSP store, and there was a lot of backlash. There was a lot of games skyrocketing on Amazon. GameStop sold out of their stock almost immediately because they were doing 4 for $20 on pre-owned games. All the Ratchet and Clanks were gone. The Jack and Dexters were gone. Like all the stuff that people that remember as a PlayStation thing from the PS3 era it just disappeared overnight.
Wow, that has to be great for GameStop because they've had that stock there for a long time. They've been wishing they could find a way to get rid of it.
Yes. Yeah, like if you go to their website now, they're still out of stock on a lot of that stuff. It's because as soon as Sony announced it was the first thing I did, right? I went and looked at the stock because I've been collecting on these 4 for $20s for a while now. Because there's some good deals in there. There were some gems, or sometimes you can get the 4 for $20s, and then the ones that are like $5 each. You can get them even cheaper, like on 4 deals or sometimes 10 deals. So I was picking up on this stuff, but yeah, Ratchet and Clank's all gone. Boom. Overnight, just disappeared. And
not surprised at all.
Now Sony says, you know what, we're not closing the shop. You can buy it digitally. The world is safe again.
Except the PSP. That's going, and fair enough.
And yeah, I mean, that is fair enough that's going because, honestly, if you still are just solely on the PSP, I believe you're not even earning trophies, right? The PSP didn't even support trophies.
I think they did at the very end. Yeah, originally no, but even then, the Vita, it plays PSP games. You could buy PSP games on the Vita. So I felt like it. I don't know if the whole library is compatible or not, or if it's just not offered. I think it's just not offered. But the games that are there, it's the large majority of titles, and so I see why they didn't bring back the PSP when they decided to reverse their decision because the Vita's there. But this just goes to show 2 things. Number 1, backwards compatibility is key. And 3, they really need a handheld, and the Vita is beloved for many reasons. But now with this whole cloud discussion we've been having, the Vita had 3G. It had this stuff. Like a couple years after the Vita was released was when they released PlayStation Now, and everybody expected that to to work hand in hand, and it didn't happen. So I think they need another handheld to leverage those things to connect the 2 things we're talking about. But yeah, good on Sony for listening to the gamers and the community. and making the right move, just like Microsoft did when they tried to increase the price of Xbox Live that day. It's the equal level move in my mind.
Well, I think part of the problem is that the PS5 doesn't really support backwards compatibility, right? And neither did the PS4. It's not like Xbox where you could throw in a 360 game or an OG Xbox game and some of them work, So their library stays in essence for as long as Xbox makes consoles that support backwards compatibility, whereas PlayStation, they really pointed out that they believe in generations at one point. And
well, I think what it is also, sorry to cut you off, clowns, but just to tag on is, if you notice that they're following the same trend of trying to monetize those games. If you really want to play them over, you got to pay us again to play them over. And that model fits them. I mean, that calls out to the Last of Us 2 remake.
Yes,
right.
I mean, and that's I think that's in poor taste on some PlayStation's choice.
Tone deaf too, really. It shows they really weren't listening when they made that move.
The old way of doing business mentality.
Right.
They don't want you to keep playing those old games. They want you to pay them again to play those old games, even if it's through PS Now, even if it's through whatever medium they want you. They feel like that is a money left on the table. That's the way
I think
do it.
that is Sony's main strategy, at least compared to where Microsoft, at least what their strategy is. So where Microsoft is more focusing on the services aspect of like, hey, we're going to give you more games for less money. We're going to give you opportunities. We're going to give you features, and making that being their major selling point. Sony has been very upfront about what their intention has been, and that intention is to give you the best games possible they can make. However, because that is their major selling point, and that is what they're trying to harp on in terms of what their actual value is, those games are not going to be being given away lightly. I mean, the fact that they even included them in the whole collection thing for PlayStation Plus, people moving to PS5, I think that was more of a desperation move, where it was, hey, we need people to have something to play in our system, and we also need to show an actual reason for people to upgrade right now. And that's why I think you're seeing them kind of hold back on announcing any actual secondary versions just yet, because they know people aren't particularly happy with them right now. I think something that's been mentioned before as well, like especially this particular week, they're trying to drown people out in terms of news. And I think that might be because of the reaction there's been to Game Pass over the last month, or maybe something where it's like there's going to be some bad news drop tomorrow, because that would follow the media cycle.
Yeah, it would. But I think, this has definitely been Sony's week thus far. But as usual, Microsoft, like we were talking with that first topic, they drop good news out of nowhere, right? Like they did with all that FPS. Boost titles that came
How
out
much
of nowhere.
stuff do they got in their back pocket just ready to? Oh, hey, we need a little bit of something just to like make people happy today.
What?
Yeah, there's just so much to offer. So even when Sony's having a good week, they still have something there, and so I don't know. It takes away some of their thunder, I feel, which is a little unfortunate for Sony, because when Microsoft was having their salad days, there was no good news from the competition, to overtake that like that. But
so I want to say that we've been talking about this for a minute. I mean, the thing is, they did announce something.
Yeah.
That and basically what Sony don't have in infrastructure, they do have in media. They're a media company. They have their own music label. They have their own movie studio. They have media, so they can actually bring value by adding those services to and collapse PS Now into PS Plus, and then add those services to it, which would bring value to them, which would indeed up the subscriber count. Because at the moment, most of their games are single player that they make, right? So there's no real good incentive on getting PS Plus outside of trying to if you guys feel like you're getting free games, which they're only free until you not subscribed, that's the only incentive, because they don't have any multiplayer games, and the multiplayer games that people do play outside of Destiny are free to play. You know, your Apexes, your Fortnites, etc. So what's the real incentive on paying for their PS Plus subscription? There's really not any, unless they add those values to it. And that's what I think is probably going to be what they do, and just be like Game Pass, charge a flat fee and collapse everything into one service. At least that's what I think would be the best for them, and offer their music and their movies through the same service.
We'll see.
Sounds smart
Yeah,
to me.
and that's the next topic we'll get into, is the alleged video pass that's rolling out with PlayStation Plus. But Mav, did you have any thoughts on PlayStation reversing their decision on the store closures?
I think that's what happens finally when people act a little bit upset about a move. You know what I mean? It's like, I think now it's almost like there's been so much stuff going on with Xbox and kind of changing the industry in a way, right? And affecting the industry, right? To where now, without people realizing it, it's affected the way they look at some of their favorite brands as well. And when you have something to compare things to, it's bad moves start to stand out more, right? Mm-hmm. Where, okay, you see what Xbox is doing with FPS boost and auto HDR and adding more backwards compatibility games to Xbox. And then on the other side, oh, PlayStation, we're shutting down PS3 and PS Vita stores, right? So without the comparison beforehand, people just like, okay, well, it's expected. This is kind of normal for what we're to expect from this brand, right? And now, because of so much talk about the other like platform and what's going on over there right now, it's like people are starting to get upset sometimes when they see like something that doesn't make a lot of sense for them on their brand. And I think it is good. This is why competition is good, right? This is why competition is good, because just because people love something today and they understand what's been great about it today, it doesn't mean that it couldn't necessarily be better, right? And if you just keep saying, oh, you know what, $70, that's cool, you know, it's to be expected, whatever. Or, hey, you know, no back compat. Hey, we want to play new games. We don't care about old games, right? I mean, if you keep just like making up reasons why you're just so enamored with something that doesn't actually benefit you, right? Like,
it's true.
Why like not want that stuff? Because it's just extra on top of the also awesome stuff that you have. It's not taking away that PlayStation has amazing AAA first-party games to say that you want to be able to play your old stuff, right? It's not taking away from the quality of any of that stuff. It's just asking for more. And what's wrong with asking for more or being upset when something doesn't feel right or is wrong? And people spoke up about this one. Whereas, you know what, a few years ago, if they would announce this, I don't know if there would have been as much of an outrage about it.
Not at all. People have been making their voices heard.
And now people are starting to have something strong to compare it to, as opposed to just being able to say 100% that, hey, we're the best, you know. Now it's like, oh, maybe there is something to this other idea, this other way of doing things. And it's starting to make things a little bit more clear that, hey, we should be able to play our old stuff, especially at least on the platforms that we bought it on.
Yeah.
Right. So you take
100%.
that away from us, then what else do we have? You know, like if I buy something digital today, I should have confidence that I will be able to play that in the future. Right. And if you take the ability from that away, then what faith do I have that you won't do it again? You know, so they made the right move here, 100%. They listened, people spoke up, and I applaud Sony for turning around and changing course on that because it's the right thing to do. So that's just my thoughts on that.
Well, the one thing that I think is very important here is that part of the reason why they did this is because a lot of people in the modding scene came out and said, "Hey, if your CMOS battery goes bad, your games are basically dead if you can't connect to the PlayStation servers, right? So if you have a PS3 packed full of digital games, your CMOS battery dies, PS Now or your PlayStation connection is gone because it no longer exists. You can't connect. You have a useless console in your hands, right? It's stacked full of games that you can't play because it won't authenticate. Even if you replace the battery, right, the CMOS battery, if the PlayStation Store is down, those games are still dead because they can't re-authenticate.
Yeah, they can't re-authenticate the time.
Well,
that's the problem, and yeah,
it also
the problem
with the local games too, the CD based ones.
Yeah,
they can't read the PlayStation disc.
So,
man, let's go.
I think part of this is that they were trying to have some positive news because there is some negative news about the PlayStation 5 that got swallowed up by this positive news. So the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition suffers from the same exact problem with the CMOS battery. It's like an intentional. Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear that part.
That's the third system in a row they've done this now. Yeah.
Yep.
It's their
architecture.
It's the way they do. Yep.
It's their.
Is that supposed to be like a kill switch or something?
It's like a form of DRM, I guess you could say.
So if you ever been on a motherboard, or at least the older ones, they used to have those too, and they would die, and then your time stopped working, and then all of a sudden all your applications start getting out of whack. That's how you have to change it. That's back in the day architecture though. It's not designed that way.
Yeah, nowadays we have the internet, our computers are plugged in, and it'll keep time. But yeah, it would be a little watch battery, just replace it. It's the same thing on the PlayStation. You remember in the back of the Saturn had one that would die really quick. It's the same battery size and everything, but like it can't keep the time without the battery, and without that, it can't authenticate because of the way the games are programmed, the security is programmed. It won't do it even on games on disc.
It's not only that, because on PlayStation you can set the time, I believe, in the settings.
No, you cannot. It has to connect online to do that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because that's the whole problem. If you were able to do that to fix the time, this wouldn't be an issue. But because you can't connect to get the timing, it doesn't work. There's a couple of videos I have. I can send you some links to that breaks it down. And he's had people who tested and all these things. But yeah.
Okay, I'll take a look at those. Yeah, because I thought when you when you start the PlayStation back up, it asks you for the date and time.
It does, but I think part of their problem is those capacitors need to stay charged, otherwise it's a wrap.
Yeah, because once it loses that information, it's done and it's saved by the battery.
Now I don't know. I don't know about the PlayStation 5, but I've seen.
Yeah, nobody's actually tested that, but they know for a fact that there's a battery on that board as well, and they're suspecting that's the same thing because they did it with the PS3, they did it with the PS4. It's looking like they do the same thing with the PS5.
So basically, what you guys are saying is, if that battery goes dead, then it's a paperweight.
It's a paperweight if the servers are down and gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just need the servers. So if you got servers, then you're still okay.
Yeah, but it's also okay to get into the motherboard, at least on the PS3. It's a lot of screws and stuff, and you also have to replace what you call the thermal paste and all that. It's really tough on the PlayStation 3 to get to the battery. But yeah, if you're able to, you replace the battery, you go online, you connect, and boom, you're back up. And even before Sony had said they were killing the stores, this wasn't going to kill the servers that that did the timing and the authentication. All that was still going to be there. If you own the game already, you're still going to be able to download them. It's just that the stores are going to be gone and you couldn't buy anything new. And so even though they've reversed this, it's not like the servers are going anywhere. The servers are still there.
I'll have to check that because I think I don't know if you follow a site called Wallo, WOLO.net. They're a very good underground site on PlayStation, and a lot of developers actually. Some developers do like homebrew over there, and different
Really?
types of and they talk about different exploits and stuff. Yeah, so it's I mean the site is public. It's not like this dirty, grimy underground thing.
Dirty.
You know that you need to clean from your PC. No, this is
It's
like
not
I
like
mean
NeoGaf.
the press, NeoGaf. No, the press people do go to this site too. They just don't talk about it as openly because there's a lot of stuff on there about PlayStation. Like for example, April 15th, they're already talking about another Caillou Hen homebrew competition entry, redirect, PS firmware updates, why you shouldn't update if you want to do homebrew. So like all this other kind of stuff there. But yeah, I'm gonna check that out because I could have sworn on there was something that if the store goes down, it can't re-authenticate no matter what. It was
Right.
like a
It
DRM
can't if the
kill
servers
switch.
aren't there.
So,
But the store servers and the authentication servers are two different servers. And at first, the store was going to go down, not the authentication. That wasn't the fear, but because the fear was because Sony continually does this all the time. Eventually, those servers will go down too. But at least for now, they're reversing the store situation, so it'll be up, for that much longer. But eventually, it's gonna go.
It will prompt you to enter the time when it comes back up, but it's trying to authenticate over the internet since the C battery is dead. And if you can't authenticate, you're just stuck in a loop and it won't go anywhere.
So if that battery's dead, will your system even boot up? Or
it will still boot up.
But
okay, so it'll boot up, but you won't be able to access your games unless you replace the battery, then get connected back online.
Right. You can't even access your disc either.
Yeah.
Your disc games.
Yeah, disc failed too.
So yeah.
Well, okay, so I guess the easiest way to explain it is that like so your battery goes dead. If your PS3 connects to the internet, you're still okay, even with the dead CMOS in there. As long as it connects.
So if you're online, you're okay.
Well, no, if the servers are online,
right? As long as the servers are up,
right? Okay.
Yeah. Well,
so and that goes for both sides, right? If Xbox Live or whatever they rename it to don't ever.
You mean Xbox Network?
Yeah.
Whenever they ever get shut down, then yes, the Xbox can face the same situation. But the difference is the Sony servers were shared servers that did not include the same infrastructure as a typical business would have. And that's their problem. I think their servers ran on like server 2012, this and that, and
Red Hat, like old versions of Red Hat.
It was not built for sustainability. They definitely was not building for long-term longevity.
Would that possibly explain why they haven't been as into back compat? Because they've been planning on potentially not moving forward with the old servers and stuff anyway that housed a lot of that stuff?
They literally used the same servers with Vita, PS3, and PS4. They were shared servers. They did not have, like Microsoft had Xbox 360 servers and Xbox One servers. They literally had two different ones. And they were dedicated. These guys were shared. So if they shut down the PS4 servers, all of them go.
Right.
Yep. They're not.
So why would they close? Why would they even attempt to close the storefronts on those things? Just server space, I guess.
No, because
I'm asking just because I'm curious. Like I don't understand a lot of this stuff, so I'm just wondering.
It probably is resources.
Well, go ahead, PK.
No, go ahead, Yobi. I was just.
No, go. It might as well be something small, but go ahead.
No. I'm just saying that it probably is resources, but we don't know for sure what their reasoning behind it.
Well, I have one piece of evidence that might back up what you're saying, because if you notice, on PlayStation, they're a lot more likely to shut down servers for a game that's not doing too well. And I think it's because this is my theory that they're recycling the servers for the next game that they're going to use them on. If a game isn't doing too well, okay, we kill the servers on that and we use those servers for the next game on the list. and they're constantly doing that. A lot of PlayStation games already don't work online because for whatever reason they shut them down. So I think so.
You guys okay? I don't know if you guys are intending to do this, but you're making it sound like you mean to tell me that the servers that Sony was forced to upgrade to after the hack in 2011 are the same ones they've been using the entire time? This paints this picture of
incompetence.
No, not maybe not incompetence, but like the family clunker, the car where it's like, hey, this is my '98 Honda Civic. It's 20 plus years old. I got 3 different kids who can all drive, but instead of getting each of them their own car or telling them to get their own car or something like that, they're just passing around the same Honda Civic. Duct tape holding it together, it's just barely holding apart. It's like, well, you lost your job, so you can't drive anymore. We're gonna send it to this other kid. Let him use the Honda Civic. I
think the easiest way to explain that, Anchorman, is that how you have your PlayStation PSN ID, and when they gave you the option to change your PSN ID, they said, "Oh yeah, your trophies may not transfer over properly."
Yeah.
It's because they use it's because it's more of an archaic system that doesn't recognize dynamic change. And the exploit that happened back in 2011 that you're speaking of, I believe actually had more to do with a database breach than a server exploit.
Yeah, I was going to say
I think it was a salt table exploit.
It was a security breach which had nothing to do with the servers.
Yeah.
More importantly, they did not hash their they didn't encrypt their passwords. A lot of it was in
wasn't
text.
Heavily encrypted. Yeah, it was easy to decrypt from the dump, allegedly.
Yeah. On top of that, a lot of the services that the servers were running, all the security apps were out of date with known exploits, and there were people in security channels. I used to be in those security channels. Would mention, in clear text, they're running this version of SSL. It's known to have an exploit, and these are problems that could happen. And they knew that people from Sony, their IPs were there, watching the whole time and did nothing about it. So it was, even worse of a situation because they knew what was wrong and did nothing about it.
Yeah, so those are mutually exclusive things. And Sony got hacked twice, by the way.
Yeah,
twice. 2014, and that was the whole thing about North Korea, and I remember that.
But just to say, business, not Sony in general per se. I mean, it sounds like we're picking on them, but Capcom literally just had a ransomware
same thing happened to them
breach because of an old VPN appliance because they refused the update. And
Paul, I want to say real quick that Paul's talking in the chat. Paul is a IT technician as well, and he said that Sony continues to use the same RTC based system.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to use a more they're going to use REST API to do their identity management now since they're using Azure. So they're definitely moving in the right direction. But I don't know if you guys know, but the reason why you could not change your PSN or your PlayStation name for years is because of that same idea. They did not have those I would say they did not use the same Microsoft Active Directory or LDAP settings or architecture or structure, right? So when they were able to allow you to change your name, anything that you bought before 2018, you lost. You lost everything because they had to manually create your new account in this new service, and that's why you can't. That's why everybody was upset when they were able to change their name. So you pretty much lost any of those digital items that were attached to your account, etc.
And
licensed to it anyway.
Just to go back to the topic too, PK, you said The Last of Us remake remake thing, right? So maybe that's another reason why they want to close some of these stores too, is so that people keep buying remakes and remakes that get good Metacritic
Yeah,
scores.
they're
I
gonna
don't
buy
know.
it. They will, because they know people will. I mean, uh, I'll give you an example. I mean, Last of Us was a PS3 game. It wasn't a PS4 game. It was a PS3 game, and people bought it. Persona 5 is also a PS3 game, but they bought that too. The point is, they will sell you the game over and over, and Nintendo does the same thing. They both have these old ways of doing business, and since it still works for them, they're going to continue to do it because people still buy the games over and over.
I mean, that's
If
true.
they and that's just the honest. I mean, it sounds bad, but you can't be bad when people are speaking with their pockets.
Yeah. And it's only now people are speaking up
Is
about
it for me?
all the
No,
things like we
it
talked
might not
about
be for
before.
anybody on this panel. Nobody
Yep.
on this panel might not be with it, but that has nothing to do with us when they're still spending the money on that. So at the end of the day, if it works for them, they're going to keep doing it. And that's just the reality.
I'll be right back, y'all.
All right, Yobi. Also, before we get into like one of the last topics, I want to go to this topic, is that what the Days Gone director said, right? If you want a sequel, buy the game. And then like there was some, I think F-bombs dropped or whatever, blah 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 talk. And yeah. So if Days Gone, there was people that swore Days Gone was such this great game and deserved a sequel and all this great stuff about the game. I mean, it seemed that some people in the press loved the game and it still never got a sequel. And that game launched with a ton of bugs and it still never got a sequel. And this guy thinks, hey, buy the game and you'll get a sequel, right? What do you guys think about this?
I will say with Sony, yeah, well, it obviously is tone deaf, but we'll say first and foremost, ever since Last of Us, Sony, sales have not been their priority at Sony ever since Last of Us. I think what they learned then and there was that awards can get you everything you need. And ever since that time, that has been their number one priority. It's critical sales, critical success trumps everything else. If the game sells, we'll consider it. But like, even if it doesn't sell well, they will still give it a second chance and give it a shot. Like, look at Gravity Rush. Gravity Rush came out great, at least in terms of critical scores. Didn't do great in the sales. They made a sequel, same exact situation, so they canned it. It's like, hey, we at least gave it another shot. But
Yeah,
like Killzone Shadowfall got terrible scores, but sold a lot of units because it was bundled in with the system. But no sequel.
I guess they realized because its sales weren't dependent on its quality or anything. It was just, an early game that was essentially a pack-in, went one-on-one with the system, and they realized that, and they were like, we're not going to give it another chance because actually, in their eyes, it failed.
Yep, and it's also like the same thing with Days Gone. It sold really well. People bought quite a few units of it. It didn't do well critically because it came out buggy to begin with. So, as a result, bad scores, good sales, still doesn't do the sequel. That is how it's been for the last 5 to 7 years.
You could be onto something there because they have that reputation for that. Like, hey, this is the place to play like the best AAA exclusive games, and if you have like games like back in the PS3 era that didn't do so good, like Resistance didn't even get that great of scores, even though it was really well thought of from a lot of people. But like they discontinued that series as well, right? Like now once they hit it with The Last of Us, right, on at the end of the PS3 era, and they've followed that trend ever since, right? And not every game that they make is just like a crusher in sales. Now some of them are, like Spider-Man, God of War. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But, if Days Gone, maybe if people bought it day one, like the guy says, but I don't know, man. I mean, that was just an asshole thing to say the way he said it anyway. But I think that you could be onto something with that because I think a lot of people actually want that sequel, especially after they played it improved on PS5. It's supposed to be like a lot better, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
I just think sales are more important to Sony than ever before, and they're cutthroat with that, as all those examples you gave. But we in the gaming community are starting to notice, a lot of people, they talk a mean game, but don't walk that mean game with their wallet. And a lot of games you expected to see a sequel on, and then we're hearing from developers and whatnot, or just, through various methods that these games aren't selling that well. And if they're not selling that well, and they've already become known as the platform for the big hitters, anything else that's not a big hit is seen as a failure, no matter how well it actually did. So now it's just, like it's just like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And they really need to change that mentality. And it's ironic now to think back, who did they put in charge of their indies? Shuhei Yoshida. It was seen as a demotion. But the guy puts out tweets always talking about these great games. In fact, he put out a tweet about a Vita game just before they announced, that they were going to shut down the store. I feel like, in hindsight of this, that maybe it wasn't as much as demotion as we think, and they wanted an important person there. It sounds like I'm making a lot of excuse. This is just a theory. I'm just saying it's just a theory. But I mean, who knows? Indies are important. They continue to prove themselves to be important. You can't just live on, AAA and quadruple A games. Those are rare. Those don't happen every month.
We say that, but then there are people who only buy 3 to 4 games a year,
and they
buy those
right, but they don't
games.
matter to the industry. They don't matter at all, because in the end, it's not enough to hold up the industry, right? If you're just the person who's buying the free to plays and maybe a 2K or whatever sports game you like, right? That's just like, that's not going to hold up the platform. Even if you sell 120 million systems, if you buy 3 games a year, or you just buy the free to plays and then you buy a sports game and that's it, that's not helping the platform at all.
It depends on what their goal is, if it's selling the hardware or if it's selling the software, though, right? Because if you're like putting out these games as almost like marketing tools to sell the systems, right? Like people have used this, for example, before, is like, hey, these games, AAA games, are almost like commercials for these companies, where you get that mind share of people saying, hey, this is the best place to have the best stuff, regardless of how many of them they actually buy. It's just thinking that mentality of, hey, this is the best. And then they go and they buy that. They play a couple games a year, which is like, this community and all of us are not the norm. We're the niche, right? We're like the hardcore gamers, the guys that play a crap ton of games and all this stuff. Most people aren't like that have a console, that go out and buy these systems. Most people only do play a couple games a year, right? And they are trying to influence that massive crowd that doesn't watch podcasts, doesn't follow the gaming news, only hears about what they see in the talk, right? People just, hey, did you see that game? Like, that's the best place to play. That's the GameStop employees. We're always saying, hey, yeah, God of War, this, it's the best thing, right? You got to get a PlayStation, because that's the only place you can play those games, right? And that's what people would get, now, that seems kind of, it's worked for them, right? And it has led to great games as well. So I'm not saying that there's nothing to say that that's wrong, but when like if that takes away from like sequels of games that people do love, like Days Gone, then that also sucks, right? And it also sucks what he said. And I don't know if he's more bitter at the consumer or if he's more bitter at Sony, right? Like who knows? Because maybe if that's what it takes is a crazy success of sales in his mind to get a sequel, then that's what it costs them getting that. But there's a lot of games that don't sell that well, they don't get sequels, right? And there's a lot of games that don't review that well. It didn't sell that well, and it didn't review well.
Wow.
So that's bottom line. It's both.
Hey, clowns. I wanted to slide in some exciting news because it wasn't on our agenda, but I wanted everyone to hear the exciting news that dropped this week.
Okay, I'm listening.
So, even though my team was invited to GameStack, I didn't attend, but AMD showed up to announce to developers. By the way, GameStack is a developer conference for Microsoft, and they announced that they're bringing the Fidelity FX. They have dropped and made available the Fidelity FX tools for Xbox. I know, and then I know a lot of people asking what about the PlayStation. Can't tell you about that, but is now available for Xbox. So these guys are now have the building blocks they need to start providing the same PC features to the Xbox console games. So definitely, and since it's doesn't cost them anything, just a little bit of extra time, you guys are going to see some improvements overall coming down the pipe. And this is just the base of the features. Um, Still, super sampling is not available, but the cast and this and the sharpening of the images and wiping away some of the smoke or the I call it smoke or film, but it's whatever the fuzzy look is coming to the Xbox consoles, the series consoles. So you guys should be super excited for that. That means that they can definitely make a couple tweaks to any game, and then that update will definitely apply to those systems because the hardware is already there. They just needed the tools.
You mean to tell me the tools of legend, the tools I was told didn't really exist, that were not coming to Xbox, now exist and now are coming?
They exist and they have a name. It's called the Agility SDK. And the name, I think it describes a lot because that's really what this update is about. It's about performance. Taking advantage of all this hardware features that we've heard about in the Xbox. Not only the ray tracing that's there, and we've seen examples of that, but the velocity architecture and sampling feedback, all these things to make the Xbox more efficient and perform better because of it. These are in the hands of developers now, and we're going to start seeing that, in games in the future,
right?
Soon future.
If you guys are curious and want a little more information, definitely check out AMD Games. They have a website dedicated to detailing out what does that mean. They even give you examples of what it looks like and what's all involved in those SDKs. But the point is, they're coming. They're open source, so that means they're not required to go back to AMD for nothing. They will have everything they need in that package to do what they need to do. So that's awesome.
Including on the PlayStation. Now, we haven't heard official word about whatnot, but as he just explained, it's open source. So even if Sony didn't have a relationship with AMD, of course they do, but even if they did not, they don't need it to be able to leverage, some of this stuff too, depending on what's in their hardware. A lot of that is debatable. I would tell you not as much as the Xbox by far, but still, a lot of this isn't even dependent on that hardware to take advantage of. So we're going to see improvements on the PlayStation, not as much as with the Xbox, but definitely you'll see that in games on PC as well.
Yes,
it's the big thing.
It really is going to be relying on what hardware features the platforms have. So if there's some features missing, they just won't have it. And we already know there's some missing, right? Because PlayStation doesn't use DirectX Ultimate, which is part of the features that you need for these kind of things. But doesn't mean they won't get anything. Just kind of throwing it out there. That's why I went to Xbox first, because they already have all the features embedded. So it's a no-brainer. They'll have to make a custom SDK for PlayStation.
Well, just to go back on topic real quick before we get off the PlayStation stuff. So there was a Polish release that PlayStation Plus was going to have some type of video pass. And so far from everything I read, it's just like a rumor, right? Like there's no confirmed details that it's going to go to every single continent where PlayStation is, that it could just be in Poland. But does this even matter? Do you think that this is like even anything to be excited about? Personally, with my PlayStation Plus subscription, I'd rather have PS Now tied in. I would not be excited for any type of video pass, even if it was like the Sony cinematic movies like Spider-Man and whatnot, because I got so many other ways to watch that content that I don't need to watch it on PlayStation. I don't know. I don't see this as exciting, and that could just be me.
It depends. If it's added value, then that's awesome. If they're touting this as a whole new service you have to pay for, that's additional and extra, then it's got to.
If they got to pay for it, that'd be bullshit.
Yeah, it's got to equal the value. So hey, if they're just giving me something and I'm already like paying for the service and you're just adding value to it, then yeah, I'm going to be excited. I don't think it's like anything that's like a negative or anything. I've seen a lot of people like, oh, this is like what they're focusing on instead of games and stuff. This is just something else. You know what I mean? This is not a takeaway from like what Sony's doing, right?
Factor.
It's just like an extra. Like let's not like just trash them for any little cool thing that they do. You know what I mean? Like this is if I'm already paying for PS Plus and this is something you're giving me on top of that, then hey, that's cool. You know what I mean? Hey, thanks for adding more to the value of what I'm paying for. And let's see what you're also going to do with the games, right? But like, don't say that. A lot of people are taking this as, hey, they're doing this instead. Fanboys will run with a lot of stuff just to make things into a negative.
100%.
And this is not a negative. Like, I don't see there's no negative here whatsoever. It just seems like potentially, which we don't even know because it's just a rumor right now, a cool little positive, right? So I'll just take that for what it is.
I will say I'm fairly certain it's not just limited to Poland, because why would they put it out in English? If it's just for Poland, why would they put it out in English? But anyway, other than that portion, the other question as a follow-up there is, didn't Sony close down their movie services? So
yes.
I don't think this is an in-house offering. Like,
well, this was maybe a replacement of. Maybe this is a reason why they shut down those movie services, and instead of physical or digital purchases, they're going with a streaming option, right?
That's what I thought the whole time, that Sony was going to have a big service. You know, on PlayStation would be one of the premier platforms to have it on. You know, their own console, of course, their TVs and stuff. So that's what I thought this was when I heard this extra bit of information. Like, makes sense to me.
The first partner service I could think of was the ones that Sony has investments in, like Crunchyroll or Funimation, things like that.
That's what my thought was, actually, was like, this is literally more of like a, hey, we'll give you access to like certain titles on these certain streaming services at no charge. Because this is coming out right when they just did the whole deal with Netflix and Disney. And it's about like, hey, we're going to put our Spider-Man movies and our other Sony titles on your platforms within these certain release windows. And so maybe to celebrate that, they would just give you access to those things. Kind of like how Xbox gave away like a month of like Disney Plus or something like that.
Yeah.
PlayStation Plus is like, they keep adding value to that right now, and they've actually been doing a really good job with that, giving you like free games. Just like, hey, here's a collection of 10 free games. They're awesome AAA games that maybe not new, but they're still really good. And then they also have what was it, Avengers hit on there, and some other stuff that are fairly recent, right? Like bigger titles. So PlayStation Plus they've been doing a lot of cool things over there. If this is just another piece of that, it would be really cool.
Yeah, PlayStation Plus, has been giving out a lot better on games than we're getting with Xbox as of late. So, right now the conversation amongst a lot of people, at least that I've seen on Twitter and in forums, is that, well, Xbox is doing so bad with these bad games they're giving us lately. Or maybe we should shut down that whole thing. I mean, these are free games now, no matter how good or bad they are. Free games that weren't originally a part of the service that you first were there for. So anything free, I don't see why people are complaining. Yeah, PlayStation has been getting the win clearly with these free games on PlayStation Plus, but this is also a way for them slightly to address some aspect of what Game Pass is doing. So you see that too, right? But a lot of people like to spin that into a negative, and maybe that is quite reactionary. But the one thing that I don't think was reactionary was when they added the PlayStation Collection for PlayStation 5. That's a lot of the big titles that I didn't get. I didn't get God of War. I'm not a big God of War person, but guaranteed when I finally get that PS5, Spider-Man will be that first game. But there's a lot of games on PlayStation Collection that I'm interested in trying out finally, because I'd already had passed them on PS4, even though I had a PS4 from that first spring. So I see that as something they're doing. Yeah. So I'm seeing that as something that Sony was doing. They need to expound upon and add on and grow that. Because I've always said they could always beat Game Pass in terms of having a service like Game Pass that just offered up that vast catalog of 4 console platforms, right, and 2 handhelds, of past content. We're not even talking about anything new, just older stuff. This is why emulation and backwards compatibility is so key. They like to sell us on the same game over and over and over. Well, here's the best way to do that. Like Nintendo was kind of an innovator with that, with Virtual Console, but that was select titles. I think Sony and Nintendo both really need to open up that vault and put out a lot more of these games. Even if you sell certain titles for a limited time, like open that vault up. Recoup some of that past investment into games that a lot of people maybe never even got to play in their lifetime. These games had come out on platforms that were dead by the time they were born. Like a lot of people who never played a lot of PlayStation 1 or even PlayStation 2 games who are into gaming now on whatever system. There's a lot of past Xbox and PlayStation games, Nintendo games that these gamers could be playing in. These are services that need to grow and to add more of the history of those platforms to be represented. I think that's great marketing, for all these platforms. And Sony really needs to get in on that. Nintendo too. A lot harder than they have been anyway.
Heck yeah, man.
Well, the last topic for the night that I just want to bring up real quick is that Jeff Kaplan is leaving Blizzard. He's been there like 20 years or so. And I mean, it seems like it's kind of like a big deal because he led a lot of projects at Blizzard. But he is a veteran. And, from my point of view, I think that, after you've been in a position so long, you just might get tired and you kind of like maybe want to move on to something different, do something different. That's how I would think of the situation. I personally, I don't think that there's any animosity or anything crazy behind the scenes. I think it's just a guy who's done something for so long. And
is there a dinosaur in somebody's house?
What the
hell? Anchor was Anchor. That was Anchor's pet alligator.
Right on.
He says a dinosaur.
I thought it was in Jurassic Park for a second. I was like, what the hell's going on?
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. Mav, I know that you sort of looked into it a little bit.
Yeah, I was researching a little bit because I'm not really familiar with the guy. I mean, Blizzard is just like has been top notch, right? I don't really. I'm anticipating stuff that's coming from Blizzard, and I don't know if this is going to have a detriment to any of that. So, we'll see who ends up taking his place. Anytime you have somebody that's made a huge impact at a company leave, obviously it's going to have some kind of ramifications and impact on the business that it is, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go downhill or anything like that. So I don't know enough about what took place or anything. It just seems like maybe he's ready to move on. I said he's been there for almost 20 years, right? So I wish him luck. I'm excited about Diablo 2 Remastered. I'm excited about Diablo 4 coming. Overwatch 2 is going to be coming out eventually.
They finally confirmed it?
I think there's been a lot of rumors.
You didn't
and
watch
stuff about that.
BlizzCon?
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
I don't be paying attention to that stuff.
Yeah, that was officially announced at BlizzCon, right?
Yeah, I think so. But Yeah, it's
BlizzCon
kinda nuts.
2019, I think.
So,
Wow.
I mean,
Well, they
Blizzard
showed
just comes
gameplay
out with
2020. Yeah.
really high quality polished stuff, and it takes them a long time to make it, right?
Yeah,
And
just like Valve.
and then they support their titles really well. Like when Diablo 3 came out,
Just like Valve. Very
yeah.
good.
So I think he's probably made a great impact, and we'll see who takes his place and see what they can do.
Yeah, it's a pretty big loss. I too had to do some homework on this. I was familiar with the name. My brother is a WoW cracked addict. Like he'll beat every race, class, and every combination in between until he's filled up all the character slots, and then erase them and do it over again. He's done that for years. And Kaplan has been there since the days of EverQuest. Like I think he was like an ascended fan who got employment there or something. And he was also director, the general director, I believe, for World of Warcraft. So that's a big big feather in his cap. And then he was the point of connection with the community over at with the Outriders. What's the name of the game? You just said it before, and they were just talking about the sequel.
Talking about
Overwatch?
Overwatch. He was the game
Overwatch.
director.
I don't play Overwatch. I'm not. I don't care one way or another. I don't have anything. I just don't care. Right. But
Same.
big game. Right. And so he was the point of connection to the community, and he's not a very like vocal person, but he had that attachment with the community, and Blizzard is beloved. I keep saying, much like Valve, they're two peas in a pod where they support their games. Their games have a high level of polish. They take a long time to make their games, and that's that's two things about those two companies that you could say that they have in common. And he was a guy who was a part of that community. He was the connection between Blizzard and the gamers who played Overwatch. So that loss is a loss for the community. It's a loss for Blizzard, but the guy's been there for nearly 20 years. Yeah, indeed, maybe he wants to do something else. I think this might have been one of his first big jobs in life, possibly. So yeah, he's doing all his life, want to do something else. Hats off to him. He's done a great job in this industry as is.
Anyone have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, so
No
I'm
comment.
definitely an Overwatch vet. Okay, that was my game. It won Game of the Year twice in a row. It's still the only
Did it really?
first-person shooter to have high-tech dedicated servers. There is no other shooter that has high-tech dedicated servers.
He
like
does not
Overwatch.
lie. Yeah, you can check Bottom Nonsense has great videos about that.
I mean, he's got a lot of accolades. I mean, quiet as kept, he was the vice president over at Blizzard. I mean, along with being the game director of Overwatch, creating something that no one's seen before, right? Bringing the fuel to hero shooters again. He created the esports for that. This was something they never thought would ever happen, and this new game changed a lot. This generation, still one of my favorite games for last generation. I'm sorry. Matter of fact, it's got 120 frame patch on the series consoles. You know what I mean?
And they finally added HDR.
Nice.
It doesn't exist on the PlayStation, but he made sure it got done on the series. So you at the end of the day, Overwatch is a pillar in the community. It has a huge following. Aaron Keller is going to be his successor. He's also an 18-year vet at Blizzard, so he's definitely leaving his baby in good hands. He's worked with him for a very long time. These guys,
absolutely a dude of equal measure. Yeah,
these guys do not take risk that will put out crap. They are very meticulous. We might always agree with their choices, but they don't release games that are broken out the gate. They will not disappoint their fans like that. They will always do test servers, et cetera, et cetera. But overall, he has done a lot for the community. He gave opportunities and new jobs to people who would have never thought that they would have a job working for or even collaborating with Blizzard Activision.
Just like himself, yeah.
So, if quiet as a cat, he deserves awards for the things that he paved the way for a lot of people who were, that are not tech guys, who are just personalities, who just like to talk about it, who just fans, right? And they created, he paved the way to create these opportunities for these people. And I think that should be noted. Like I said, we don't always agree with all his decisions, but we all human. But at the end of the day, the dude was a good dude, and it is an end of an era, as I can describe it best. It will be like the same way when Phil Spencer decides to quit Xbox, right, and retire.
Oh, yeah.
That's the
Let's
kind of
never
feeling.
talk about that.
I'm
Yeah,
just
please.
saying that's the kind of feeling it is over
Yeah, or
Blizzard.
Miyamoto or whatever. Yeah, like for Blizzard, that's their big guy.
Yeah, that's the dude. So, it's like an end of an era, but like I said, there's a lot of good people over there, so they're gonna keep the ship running. And Overwatch 2 should hit pretty well, and they should do very nice with their up and coming games. Diablo
You say he's
4,
leaving the
etc.
company, right?
Yeah.
Well, I just hope, just out of what you guys just said, like you sound like an awesome person. I just hope that they keep him in his pocket like a spiritual advisor, just to give people some pointers and just
Yeah,
Well,
hope
I'm sure if they
sure.
ever need him, if they ever put up the Kaplan signal, he'll be around.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
of
sure
course.
that he's only one phone call away, but I think he just want to go and kind of he's been growing his beard out, so I think he's just ready to like chill out and take a couple back, right?
All right.
So I think that's just what it is. He's just ready to, one more year is too much for him. He's just ready.
He's earned it, man. He's earned it.
Well, I mean, we're coming up to the 2-hour mark, and go ahead and let everybody do their outros in a fancy way as possible. So, Mav, you're the first square underneath me on my screen. What are you doing tonight, and where can people find you?
Oh, hey. So I have to be fancy with this? As fancy as possible?
I mean, you could be,
Alright.
yeah. You could give it
Okay.
a shot. Let's see what happens.
Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I don't know how to be fancy. This was a fun show. Sick, Dragon, PK, and also Ivan. You guys are awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us. Clowns, you're awesome. Also, freaking rock, man. We had a lot of PlayStation talk today, which was nice for a change. Some positive there. And hey, please, everybody, check out my YouTube channel, Fun Speculation. We have a fun show tonight. It's called Fun Pop, where we talk about Marvel, DC, comic books, and all that kind of fun stuff. Then also, Friday nights, we have Xbox Ultimate Podcast on the YouTube channel, Fun Speculation as well. That's also at 9 p.m. Eastern. And on Twitter, check me out at Fun Speculation as well. So thank you guys. Chat, you were awesome. Keep it real. That wasn't very fancy. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I mean, you can make up for it when I win in Madden, on the rematch. The Eagles will beat the Cowboys.
Yeah. My wife's alter ego is fancy. You don't want to hear that fancy. But maybe you do. That is
true.
Maybe you do.
That is true. Well, Sick, you're the next person underneath me right now.
Yeah.
So,
I don't do fancy either. I leave that up to Lemon, One-Way Dragons TV with all the cameras and sets and all that shit stuff, man. I come with the gaming passion and knowledge and things. So, yeah. Geez, intro. Yeah. Well, outro. I mean, first off, thanks for having me, and we had a great panel, great show tonight. Bro, I'd be all over the place, but first and foremost, 108 Dragons TV every Saturday, 7 p.m. You'll find myself, PK, 108 Dragons, and plus guest. Come come check us out. I'm also on GRG. I'm on RetroRenegades quite often. Sometimes with Sega Man, Direct Gaming. I'm all over the place. You know me. I just love talking about games, playing games, and technology behind them. A lot of people have been asking me, how come I don't have my own YouTube channel? Indeed, I do. So if you want, please follow. You're not going to find much there. But what I've decided is I'm going to put up a couple of short videos about whatever. I'm just going to use my cell phone. This is going to be a real low budget. But the idea is, to part some knowledge, little tricks here and there that I've learned along the way. So you can come check me out on Twitter and everywhere great games are played, including now that Oculus platform, but not the Switch, just not yet. Waiting on that Switch Pro. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Anytime. And Yobi, you're next on the fancy box list, or the what should I say? How about try doing a collegiate outro, huh? Make it
What the hell is a collegiate? That's a new word.
Collegiate.
I just made it up on the spot, like Flemish. This Flemish.
It's like
is not here.
NCAA. Like
Yeah.
Well, people, I want to say thank you for having me. It is a pleasure. Again, this is me, Dragonheart Yobi, aka Mr. Peace Love Life. You can find me at Dragonheart Yobi on Twitter, Dheart Yobi on Xbox. I'm not gonna say my Twitch numbers because that's too many damn numbers. So Nintendo, get gamer tags. Come on now, give it the damn times. And you can find me at Dragonheart Yobi on Instagram. I do a lot of retweets lately. I just post. I'm getting back to my posting positive videos and information and all that stuff because in the world we live in, we need it as much more as the next person. So you can find me there, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. It's always a good time. Always a good time. So from me to you, thank you.
Awesome. And PK, where can we find you, man?
Hey man, listen, definitely shout out to the guests. Thanks for coming through. Y'all my brothers. I love y'all to death. It's always good to have good company and have good conversations. Definitely gonna look forward to hollering at you guys on other platforms for sure. For me, you definitely can find me on 4GQ TV every Thursday. We got GRG with Six Slayer every Friday.
Oh my, I didn't mention GRG. Oh, I'm so sorry.
You did mention it, but
you said GRG. You good, bro?
Yeah, you got it, bro.
I thought I did. I thought I didn't.
And then definitely on Saturday we doing the Dragons Den with 108 Dragons with his loud behind, and definitely I'm saying shout out to everybody in the chat. Thanks for coming. It's been a great show. I appreciate you guys letting me express myself and share some knowledge and talking gaming. This wouldn't be a show without you guys. Thanks.
And Ivan, aka Anchorman, aka the Multiverse Bro, and the Siege Master. Where can people find you?
Well, tonight I'm just gonna be playing on Xbox. Just playing a bunch of smaller games. I'm kind of in a weird lull after finally 100%ing Rainbow Six Siege's achievements. Finally, so that's been fun.
You are a goat for that.
Man, I was getting stuck on the last flawless ranked match I had to win, or that was just rough. But anyway, other than that, you can find me on Twitter at Multiverse Show. We do our show on Mondays at 8 o'clock. Well, it's going to be 7 o'clock going forward. So go and check us out there. YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you can find podcasts, except for Apple. Screw Apple. So hope you guys have a good day.
Awesome. Well, everybody can find me at Italian Clowns on all social media for GWQ Podcast. We do have an interview that will be uploaded sometime between tonight and tomorrow after some edits. And I have a rematch coming up with Mev where the Eagles are going to win. Definitely 100% for sure. I can flip a coin, and whether it's heads or tails, the Eagles will win. I know this for fact. Sorry, Jalen Hurts. I will not use you as a quarterback, though.
Cowboys
and yeah, so stay tuned to the channel because we are actually going to have some bigger guests on. Huge shout out to Paris and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Facebook group as well that he runs. It's the largest Marvel Facebook group now officially, with over 550K members.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
That's a lot of people.
Right? Holy sh. Whew.
He said
Yeah.
K.
Yes, 500K. Oh my God.
So, yep. Until next time, everybody. See you guys later, and hope to see you in chat on the next interview as well. All right, later, guys.
Peace. Good night. Peace, chat.